Welcome to a new video on the Negayo channel. As you may have noticed, in recent weeks I have been uploading a lot of short videos about two very famous parallel universes within DC Comics. I'm referring to Deceased and Injustice. Personally, they are not my favorite comics, but views are views. It's what the audience wants, and varying the channel's content doesn't hurt either. For some time now, I've noticed that many people who are not familiar with my channel take my jokes a bit too seriously. They think I hate Zack Snyder, that I despise Batman, that I'm a huge fan of James Gunn, and that I'm not married to Satana. And especially they think I hate Injustice with all my heart. Do I? Well, no, I've said it before, I don't hate Injustice. I just don't think it's wonderful enough to be adapted into a movie, not because the concept is bad, in fact it's great. In reality, I believe the biggest flaw of this universe is the comics that try to expand the story. Their inconsistencies reach a level where common sense just goes on sabbatical, so I made this video to demonstrate that. I've gathered 5 of the most inconsistent moments from Injustice following the very rules of this universe. We're going to focus solely on the plot, regardless of whether the characters have their typical personalities that we already know. That's why it's a parallel world, right? Still, I wonder, what would a classic Batman or Superman think about these alternate versions? What would Lois Lane think upon seeing what this Clark did? Or what would Wonder Woman think upon seeing this other Wonder Woman blinded by unrequited love? 5th place. Shazam doesn't know if he's doing the right thing. Billy Batson is undoubtedly one of the characters with the most tragic endings in the story. However, upon reading the comics closely, it seems a bit unbelievable that someone with the wisdom of Solomon isn't sure if he is acting heroically after joining Superman's side. I mean, this is after Metropolis was destroyed and the author was killed in an act of rage. It might be somewhat understandable to support a victim to prevent such an atrocity from happening again. But once that leader incapacitates someone who doesn't think like him, twice in fact, and kills soldiers who don't obey him, it forces Billy to give up his powers without knowing if he would survive. He kidnaps an entire city and is willing to let it die just to subjugate others. So, maybe you should stop completely until you're sure who you're working for. Your leader wants to prevent other cities from suffering like Metropolis, yet he orders you to kidnap Atlantis and leave it in the desert until the king submits to your team's orders. How does that make sense? The funniest thing is that this happened just in the first weeks of Injustice. And these actions weren't even the most questionable things Superman did, not to mention the crimes of his right-hand woman Wonder Woman. From future events like the murder of Green Arrow, Alfred Pennyworth, rebellious civilians, the alliance with Sinestro and other supervillains, to the attack on the Lanterns with the intent to kill. Let's not even talk about that. Billy Batson even interviewed others to hear their opinions on the New World Order and even spoke with Shazam. Billy knew that obeying all of Superman's orders affected him psychologically, but like Shazam, he decided to stay in the regime. And so he endured for another 5 years, even ignoring that Superman killed anyone who opposed him. How is it that at this point you still don't know your team is on the wrong side? The last straw for him was in the video game story where Superman threatens to destroy Gotham and Metropolis. Unfortunately, it was already too late for him to want to be a hero. I'm not saying that Shazam's story wasn't sad enough, but we have to admit it had too many red flags that he simply chose to ignore. So, his ending is just the consequence of all the bad decisions he made and his inconsistent stance. 4th place, arrest Batman but not Bruce Wayne. This follows Huntress's death at the hands of Wonder Woman. One of the most affected was Renee Montoya, who was drowning in the pain of this loss. Throughout year 4, she decided to consume a dangerous amount of super pills to confront the regime all on her own. It's worth emphasizing that 4 years had already passed since the attack on Metropolis. And although Superman had already subdued the planet, he still hadn't managed to stop Batman and his team. In fact, most of the times they faced off, the Bat always managed to escape. So Clark was fed up and on multiple occasions ordered his subjects to catch the guard as soon as they saw him. When Renee Montoya successfully lured Superman and the rest of the regime, she ended up suffering a heart attack due to an overdose of super pills. Immediately, Bruce Wayne appeared at the scene to retrieve his ally's body, and Clark simply let him go. Even Wonder Woman was surprised by this, reminding Superman of all the time he had spent tirelessly searching for his enemy. But Clark's brilliant argument was that this wasn't Batman, it was Bruce Wayne who was mourning his friend. And before you say, there's honor among enemies or something like that, I just remind you that this Superman was already about to kill rebels, Alfred and Shazam, so he had nothing of honor or redemption left. At least on this occasion, Superman was somewhat reflective and gave Batman an ultimatum. Something like, but don't put on the suit again or you'll see, right? Obviously, Bruce didn't obey him, and therefore the war continues to this day. Third place, Harley Quinn escaping from hell. This character underwent one of the most interesting twists within the Injustice story. I'm not saying her entire plot is good, just that it's interesting. At least it left us wanting to know more about what she would do next after facing no consequences for being an accomplice in the Metropolis attack. Besides being admitted into Batman's non-killer side, even though she was a killer, Harley also achieved some pretty incredible feats, among them being the only one in human history to escape from the Greek underworld. Well, there is also Hercules, but he had to become a god. And when Zeus sent her and Billy to the prison of the damned, they weren't supposed to have it that easy. However, Harley's unpredictable madness was more than enough to defeat the largest prisoner in the place and earn respect, because according to her, that's what you do in the movies. And mind you, she did this without the super pill. Later, she did it with the super pill and with the help of Hippolyta. They caused enough trouble to attract the attention of Ares, the god of war, who was also taken down by Harley. They stole his mother box, ended up captured by Darkseid on Apocalypse, and after Superman's intervention, Billy Batson managed to reprogram the mother box to return to Earth safe and sound.
Is that it?
Maybe it's not as inconsistent a moment as some of the others we've talked about in the video, but I consider it one of the most ridiculous moments within Year 5 of Injustice. If you don't quite agree with this position, then I'll swap it for the one where Harley Quinn forces Lobo to take therapy to convince him to face Darkseid. By the way, Lobo could have freed himself at any moment to complete his hunt for Quinn. Second place, the death of Oliver Queen. Green Arrow, in many stories, serves as the moral and ethical guide for the entire Justice League, as he is one of the few members without powers or special armor to help him in combat. He can perceive the League from the same point of view as we do. He is also a great friend to most, especially Hal Jordan being his best friend in almost all universes. That's why it's quite sad that despite these characteristics of Oliver being maintained in the Injustice universe, it seems that no one was affected by his horrible death at the hands of Superman. I mean, no one from the regime switched sides, no one stopped to confront Superman, and worst of all, not even Hal Jordan thought of withdrawing from the war. And all of this, even being a Green Lantern. We mentioned it at the beginning, and I know this Hal Jordan is not the Hal Jordan we've known in other stories, but still, it seems quite forced to me. It's hard to believe that anyone on Superman's side wouldn't take seriously the fact that their leader brutally killed the most defenseless hero among his ranks. And he was someone who was supposed to be valued by all. What I mean is that sometimes it's evident that there's not even a hint of common sense in the characters. It doesn't matter if they are alternate versions, Victor Stone, Barry Allen, Hal Jordan. They all attended the funeral, but it seems Oliver's death didn't impact them at all, not even with the subsequent revelation that Dinah was pregnant. First place, the fate of Victor Zsasz. Here we get into more technical details. One plot hole that annoys me about Injustice is that sometimes it doesn't respect its own story. If you've read the comic and also played Injustice 2, you'll know that Victor Zsasz has different backstories. Even though we're in the same universe, in the Injustice comics Year 5, Superman freed this killer to go kill Alfred Pennyworth. This caused Batman to come out of hiding, confront Damian, who had now taken up the mantle of Nightwing, and everything ended in a fight against part of the regime. In the end, a defeated Batman would be saved by Flash at the last moment, and Victor Zsasz would be returned to prison. Now at the beginning of Injustice 2, they changed the story for some reason. Batman and Damian Wayne go to Arkham Asylum just as Superman was turning evil. He wanted to move all the prisoners to a special place. In the comics, this was the event where Dick Grayson died. However, at the start of the game, we have none of this. In fact, Damian ends up killing Victor, and from here he joins the regime. I don't know why they decided to change the story, leaving out Dick Grayson's death in the video games. If so, then how did Damian end up killing him in reality? To this day, I don't know if there's an explanation for this drastic change. This contradicts not only Year 5 of Injustice, but almost the entire comic story since they started. Maybe the answer is out there in the Injustice 2 comics. Perhaps someone changed the past and didn't tell me, I don't know, but if any of you know what happened here, please leave a comment below this video. If you want me to make another video about Injustice, this time talking about its best moments, leave your like and comment, and subscribe and activate notifications so you don't miss the new content. I hope you enjoyed this compilation. Let me clarify, these are not necessarily the worst moments in all of Injustice, and they are not ranked in any specific order. They are simply some events that for some reason stuck in my memory more than others. Although, just as there are ridiculous moments, there are also some pretty epic events. Even though Injustice is somewhat hated in the comic community for having overly popularized an image of superheroes that is simply not correct, especially that of Superman. But, well, that's a discussion for another day. As I said at the beginning, I'm neither a fan nor a hater of Injustice. It simply doesn't seem like a Marvel to me like it does to others. Anyway, friends, don't forget that we're back to streaming every Saturday, starting at 6 in the evening here on YouTube. We chat live with the community, answering questions, sharing opinions, discussing news, and of course, from time to time, playing video games that you choose. For now, I have nothing else to say, but thank you all for stopping by, friends. My name is Alex, and this is the Negayo channel. See you later.